Pick up a rubber band. Maybe one's looped around your wrist, holding a stack of papers, or tucked in a junk drawer. It's just a loop of stretchy material, so common you might overlook it. Yet this humble invention has bound together more than just objects. It stretched the boundaries of human creativity, organization, and resilience. Welcome to Small Thing, Big Change. I'm your name, and today we're exploring the story of the rubber band, a small thing that built an elastic empire. From ancient jungles to modern offices, from wartime ingenuity to playful experiments, the rubber band's journey is one of flexibility and impact. Let's stretch into its story and discover how this tiny loop changed the world. Segment 1. Before the rubber band, a world without stretch. In the early 1800s, organizing and securing items was a rigid affair. Imagine a clerk in a bustling London office, tying stacks of documents with twine that frayed and tangled. Twine was the go-to solution for bundling papers, produce, or parcels, but it was slow to tie, hard to undo, and prone to breaking. In homes, people used cloth strips or leather straps to secure belongings, from rolled blankets to market goods, but these were bulky and wore out quickly. Sailors on ships struggled with ropes that stiffened in salt water, making it difficult to secure sails or cargo during storms. Even simple tasks, like keeping a diary closed or a basket of vegetables contained, required time-consuming knots or makeshift fasteners. This lack of a flexible, reusable fastener was more than an inconvenience, it was a bottleneck for progress. The Industrial Revolution was transforming commerce, with global trade and paperwork exploding, but the tools to manage it lagged behind. Businesses lost time and money as clerks fumbled with string, and farmers at markets watched produce spill from loosely tied sacks. In rural areas, where resources were scarce, people resorted to vines or plant fibers, which were unreliable and rotted quickly. The need for a quick, durable, and elastic solution was pressing. Fastening wasn't the only challenge. In early manufacturing, securing parts during assembly, say, holding gears in place or bundling wires, was a clumsy process. Pins and clips, like those used for paper, were rigid and limited, while adhesives like glue were messy and permanent. The world needed a fastener that could stretch, grip, and release without breaking, something that could adapt to countless tasks. Early experiments with elastic materials, like animal sinew or woven fibers, hinted at possibilities, but they lacked the strength and scalability to meet growing demands. The stage was set for a small invention that would spring into action, born from an unexpected source, the sap of a tropical tree. Segment 2. The birth of the rubber band. The rubber band story begins in the lush jungles of Central and South America, where indigenous peoples had long used the sap of the Hevea brasiliensis tree, natural rubber, for waterproofing and crude tools. By the 1700s, European explorers brought rubber to the West, marveling at its elasticity but puzzled by its limitations. It was sticky in heat and brittle in cold. In 1823, British chemist Charles Mackintosh used rubber to create waterproof fabrics, sparking interest in its potential. But raw rubber was unreliable, melting in summer and cracking in winter, far from practical for widespread use. The breakthrough came in 1839, when American inventor Charles Goodyear accidentally discovered vulcanization. While experimenting with rubber and sulfur, Goodyear spilled a mixture onto a hot stove, creating a tough, elastic material that resisted temperature changes. Vulcanized rubber was durable, flexible, and scalable, revolutionizing industries from tires to textiles. Goodyear's discovery, though he died in poverty, laid the foundation for the rubber band. In 1845, British inventor Stephen Perry, working for a rubber manufacturing firm, saw the potential of vulcanized rubber for a new kind of fastener. Perry patented the rubber band, describing it as a loop of vulcanized India rubber for securing papers, packages, and clothing. His design was simple, a thin, continuous loop of rubber that could stretch and snap back, gripping items securely without knots. Perry's company, Messrs. Perry and Company, began producing rubber bands in London, cutting strips from vulcanized rubber sheets and sealing them into loops. Manufacturing rubber bands was no small feat. Early production relied on hand cutting and joining, a labor-intensive process that made them expensive. By the 1860s, advances in machinery allowed factories to extrude and cut rubber bands with precision, lowering costs. Natural rubber, sourced from plantations in Malaysia and Brazil, became a global commodity, though its extraction raised ethical concerns. Indigenous workers faced harsh conditions, and colonial exploitation fueled the supply chain. The rubber band's early adoption was swift. Offices embraced it to bundle documents, replacing twine and pins. Farmers used it to secure produce sacks, and households adopted it for everything from sealing jars to organizing sewing kits. Its elasticity was its genius. It could stretch to fit any size, grip tightly, and release easily. Yet challenges remained. Early rubber bands could snap under strain or degrade over time. Manufacturers like Alliance Rubber, founded in 1923, refined the process, introducing standardized sizes and stronger compounds. The rubber band wasn't just a tool, it was a spark of ingenuity, stretching the possibilities of organization and creativity. Segment 3. The Rubber Band's Golden Age. By the late 19th century, the rubber band was a global phenomenon, its versatility transforming daily life. In offices, it became indispensable. Clerks bundled invoices, letters, and ledgers with rubber bands, saving hours compared to tying twine. The rise of typewriters and mass paperwork in the 1880s made rubber bands a staple, with companies like the U.S. Post Office ordering millions to secure mailbags. Their affordability, pennies for a handful, made them accessible to businesses and homes alike. In households, rubber bands were a jack of all trades. Homemakers used them to seal canning jars, keeping food fresh in an era before modern refrigeration. Parents looped them around children's toys to keep parts together, while seamstresses used them to organize thread spools. Farmers and market vendors relied on rubber bands to bundle asparagus, carrots, or flowers, streamlining trade. Their portability and reusability made them a favorite for travelers, who used them to secure rolled clothing or repair broken luggage straps. The rubber band's impact reached industries. In early factories, workers used rubber bands to hold components during assembly, from bicycle parts to telegraph wires. During the bicycle craze of the 1890s, mechanics used them to bundle tools or secure inner tubes, aiding the mobility revolution. In agriculture, rubber bands helped graft plants, securing delicate stems without damage. Even medicine saw their utility. Doctors used them to bundle surgical tools or secure bandages in field clinics. The early 20th century brought cultural shifts. During World War I, rubber bands were critical in military logistics, securing maps, medical kits, and ammunition packs. Their lightweight, elastic nature made them ideal for soldiers in trenches, where rigid fasteners failed. By the 1920s, rubber bands were so ubiquitous that they inspired playful uses. Children invented games like Rubber Band Wars, snapping them as harmless projectiles. Advertisements touted their endless uses, from organizing desks to crafting slingshots, embedding them in popular culture. But the rubber band's rise had shadows. Rubber plantations in Southeast Asia and South America relied on exploited labor, with workers facing dangerous conditions and low wages. Environmental concerns emerged as deforestation for rubber trees damaged ecosystems. The rubber band's affordability came at a cost, a reminder that even small innovations carry complex histories. By the 1930s, it was a symbol of practicality and ingenuity, binding together the fabric of modern life. Segment 4. The Rubber Band in Crisis and Creativity. The rubber band's true versatility shone in times of crisis. During World War II, rubber became a strategic resource, critical for tires and equipment. When Japan's occupation of Southeast Asia cut off 90% of the world's rubber supply, the U.S. faced a shortage. Civilians were urged to donate rubber bands, which were recycled into military goods. Soldiers used them to secure gear, from ration packets to radio wires, in muddy trenches and humid jungles. In field hospitals, medics looped rubber bands around 4 tubes or bandages, improvising under pressure. In civilian life, rubber bands became symbols of resourcefulness. During the Great Depression, Families stretched their budgets by using rubber bands for repairs, securing broken chair legs, or bundling scarce food supplies. In wartime Britain, children collected rubber bands for scrap drives, contributing to the war effort while playing games with leftover loops. These small acts of ingenuity showed how the rubber band, in scarcity, became a tool of resilience. Creativity flourished, too. In the 1950s, artists like Claes Oldenburg incorporated rubber bands into sculptures, celebrating their everyday charm. Musicians used them to secure sheet music in windy outdoor performances, enabling the rise of open-air concerts. In classrooms, teachers used rubber bands for science experiments, demonstrating elasticity and physics to eager students. The 1969 Apollo 11 mission even included rubber bands. Astronauts used them to secure tools in zero gravity, a testament to their universal utility. In humanitarian contexts, rubber bands proved invaluable. After the 2010 Haiti earthquake, aid workers distributed them with relief kits, allowing families to bundle belongings or repair tents. In refugee camps in Jordan, rubber bands secured food parcels and clothing, offering practical solutions in chaos. These stories highlight the rubber band's role as a quiet hero. Its simplicity made it a lifeline, binding hope in the face of adversity. Segment 5. The rubber band's modern legacy and future. Today, the rubber band remains a global staple, with billions produced annually by companies like Alliance Rubber and Staples. Its design is largely unchanged, a loop of natural or synthetic rubber, but innovations have enhanced its durability. Modern rubber bands resist UV degradation and extreme temperatures, thanks to advances in polymer science. Sizes and colors vary, from tiny bands for electronics to thick ones for industrial use, catering to diverse needs. In offices, rubber bands organize cables and documents in an increasingly digital world. In homes, they seal snack bags, secure plant stems, or even power homemade toys. In industry, they bundle components in manufacturing, from circuit boards to furniture. Their eco-impact is under scrutiny. Natural rubber relies on plantations, and synthetic versions use petroleum. Companies are responding with biodegradable bands made from plant-based polymers, aligning with sustainability goals. Culturally, the rubber band endures as a symbol of flexibility. Artists use them in installations, like Yayoi Kusuma's elastic sculptures, while makers craft jewelry or kinetic art from colorful bands. In education, initiatives like Rubber Bandits provide kits to schools in developing nations, teaching physics through hands-on experiments. In 2023, over 10 million rubber bands were distributed to African classrooms, boosting STEM learning. The rubber band's future is elastic. Innovations like conductive rubber bands for wearable tech could integrate them into smart devices. In space exploration, NASA experiments with rubber-based composites for flexible habitats. From offices to orbit, the rubber band's simplicity ensures its place in a changing world, proving that small tools can stretch far. Closing, a loop that binds us. As we release this story, let's marvel at the rubber band's elastic empire. This tiny loop has organized lives, sparked creativity, and stretched through crises with remarkable resilience. It's a reminder that the smallest things can bind the greatest ideas. This is Small Thing, Big Change, and I'm your name. If the rubber band's journey stretched your imagination, hit that like button, subscribe, and share in the comments. What's another everyday object you'd love us to explore? A coin, a clip, a key? Until next time, keep finding the stretch in the small things.